Hi, thanks, Julia. First slide, please, Grano. Hi, everyone. I'm Beth from Supply Change. Supply Change was founded in 2018 by myself and my co-founders, Isha and Barina. Our mission is to create a world where goods and services are commissioned with social and environmental value at their centre by increasing the number of social enterprises in public and private sector supply chains. So today I'm going to talk about how engaging with social enterprises in your supply chain can help anchor institutions deliver social value to communities through their spend, and some practical steps on how anchors can start to embed social procurement across their organisations. Next slide, please. So I'm sure many of you do know, but for those that don't, social enterprises operate like any other business, delivering goods and services to customers and making a profit. But crucially, these profits are reinvested back into a social or environmental mission at their heart. From providing jobs and training opportunities to protecting our natural world through innovative, sustainable practices, social enterprises are at the forefront of delivering positive change that we so desperately need. And throughout the pandemic, they've shown their resilience and flexibility to support communities while still delivering great services. Next slide, please. There's a vast and still largely untapped potential in supporting these businesses through private and public sector procurement. Procurement done right is one of the greatest tools that we have with which to build social value into the fabric of society, and it has the power to create real, lasting social and environmental change. When you directly procure from social enterprises, you can generate benefits to communities, but also to your own organisations. So for society, social enterprises lead to job creation. Many operate with environmental practices, so support climate change, support local economic growth and investing in communities. But also for anchors, it can help you meet your own internal social value objectives, help with responsible sourcing, introduce diversity and innovation into your supply chain, which the last year has shown us the importance of. And it can also really help to engage your staff and retain them as well. Next slide, please. As well as being the right thing to do, there is now added incentive for public sector organisations to embrace social procurement, which Alex touched on earlier. From the 1st of January this year, the social procurement landscape has been improved by a new government model, the social value model. This series of new measures represents a positive step forward by the government as it mandates the assessment of social impact made by suppliers to public bodies. The changes will apply to all central government departments, so the Cabinet Office, Department of Health and Social Care, executive agencies and non-departmental public bodies. According to the new procurement policy note on the new model, which was published in September, social value must now be explicitly evaluated in all central government contracts. And whereas previously it was just considered as currently required under the Public Services Social Value Act in 2012. So although this change of wording might sound minor, it actually highlights a big shift in the government's approach to social value. Whereas previously officials were required to think about social value within procurement processes, there was nothing to ensure that it was a determining factor. But the new model insists that social value is explicitly evaluated. And the framework is imposing a minimum weighting of 10% for social value in decisions on contract bids. So this means that social value will soon be a standardised compulsory aspect of government procurement, and that could make a decisive difference when there's close competition. Next slide, please. So what are the practical next steps that anchors can take to introduce more social enterprises into their supply chains? Embedding social procurement within your organisation is not an overnight process and requires a considered approach. However, we recommend starting with these simple steps. Firstly, carry out an opportunity analysis of your spend data. So carrying out data analysis of your current contracts and spending is a great way for anchor institutions to establish a baseline of where to work from in terms of social procurement, like Zach mentioned. Data analysis methods can show anchors if you are already working with social enterprises. They can identify spending categories which are suitable to switch to social suppliers, and identify areas of spending that are leaking out of the local economy. Looking at spend data across a group of anchors can also show where spending power of different organisations could be combined to create further market opportunities for social enterprises. Secondly, start with small switches. After this analysis, anchors can then start by identifying smaller procurement needs within your supply chain that are easy to switch. Some common areas to start introducing social enterprises might include tea and coffee, printed materials, stationery, or catering. There are so many social enterprises providing these easy to switch goods that are making an impact at the same time, making for really quick wins. And thirdly, use progressive procurement strategies. So after choosing which areas of your supply chain you would like to introduce social enterprises to, progressive procurement strategies can help boost social enterprises' access to supply chains, leading to increased revenue and greater sustainability. Some strategies that could be used are an increase in the minimum social value weighting of tenders to encourage applications from social enterprise sector. This is particularly useful for tenders where social enterprises might face steep competition from commercial suppliers. And ensuring transparency of contracts by offering pre-market engagement activities to social enterprises, such as Meet the Buyer events, can also help to ensure social enterprises access to anchor supply chains. And fourthly, and finally, anchors can also ask their current contractors to examine their own supply chains to find space to subcontract to social enterprises. Most organisations need goods and services like catering, cleaning, stationery, for example, all things which can be procured from social enterprises. Giving each of your primary contractors a target of introducing 1 to 2 social examples as social enterprises, for example, is a great place to start. Next slide, please.
Just a minute left, Beth. I think you're almost there anyway, aren't you?
Yeah. So at Supply Change, we work with both public and private sector organisations and social enterprises to remove the barriers to social procurement and create meaningful impact. So for buyers, we offer a range of services to make buying from social enterprises easier, safer and quicker. Our spend analysis services help identify areas of opportunity in existing spending to switch to social suppliers. Our policy and reporting support helps to embed social procurement in organisational targets and track their impact. We run virtual networking events to connect buyers directly with social enterprises and raise awareness and internal support. And finally, we have the Supply Change platform, which is a directory of pre-vetted social enterprises that buyers can browse and find suppliers who will deliver quality and a positive impact. So please get in touch if you would like to find out any more about our services. But that's me.